In this section, we are going to work on the third factor that leads you to desire the type of partner you want by your side, which is insecurity. It is a topic that arises in all of us because even when we do not want to admit it, we reach a moment in our existence in which we want to fulfill ourselves through our potential partners. In essence, I seek to have a romantic partner who is successful. But in that process, I stop seeing that I am the one who must achieve success on my own. Therefore, this drive is very important because it is what leads you to want to be with someone because of what you cannot achieve on your own. The origin of a drive like this, which leads you to project onto other people the success that you cannot achieve, is going to be found in traumatic experiences that you have had in your childhood, related either to parents or teachers who at some moments in your life they made you believe that you had nothing special because in turn they had nothing that made them feel successful. That's why I tell you that this is something that affects us all to a greater or lesser extent. It is a psychological illness that spreads at a social level. And this happens because all the people with whom we interact in our early years, when seeking success, many of them, without achieving the results, begin to take it out on those who are most vulnerable, in the children who are close to them. Because if you think about it, children, in this case you, represent that splendid future that they, the adults who hurt you, are running out of. And that leads you to unconsciously develop an adult that, over the years, leads you to seek in your partners the success that you think you will never achieve on your own. Therein lies the explanation why many people, when they project the type of partner they want by their side, focus on someone who is already successful, especially on a professional level. But the risk that we all run because of this projection is that I can assure you that no person on the planet is as successful or perfect as they appear to the outside. As far as you can infer, you expose yourself to falling into the manipulations of other people, your potential partner, because as always you are looking for that successful person who is supposed to lead you to have the type of life that you want, you forget that you can achieve that without the need to have a partner by your side. And this happens because you must be very aware that one thing is a romantic relationship and another is your life goals. Now, the problem that this generates for you is that by undervaluing yourself, you stop trusting in your own ability to achieve everything you want for yourself. An example that I can tell you about this was a case of a person who came to my office with anxiety because he was very afraid that his partner was going to abandon him. He lived with that constant fear that his world was going to fall into a thousand pieces if that person stopped being by his side. And this happened because his partner constantly threatened him that she was going to abandon him if he didn't do what she wanted. In this case, the wife of the person who consulted me was a doctor, very successful on a professional level, very recognized, and who was doing very well financially. And he, who was also a professional, had put aside her work to take care of the house and the children, so that she could fulfill herself in her profession. And that happened because he came to the conclusion that the work his wife did, supposedly healing other people, was more important than what he did selling products. And this happened because in the dynamic they had as a couple, the wife was always telling her how important she was and how relevant her work was to others. If you look, it was the perfect situation for all the conflicts that he had been experiencing since childhood to be activated. That relationship that he had had with his parents, and in particular with his uncles, who by treating him badly when he was a child made him believe that his abilities had no value. So, as you can see, that is why it is so important to work on these issues, because they are activated in adulthood without you being able to do anything to avoid it. Well, in this case, the solution was to help the patient to regain his self-esteem, strengthen his sense of self, and above all, recognize that he was being manipulated by this drive of the psyche that he had been carrying with him for so many years in his unconscious. When he did, he recovered almost immediately, and that allowed him to have the confidence to start focusing on his own life and not his wife's, which resulted in him becoming more attractive to his wife. In fact, he ended up making more money than his wife. But well, here the idea is that you observe that drive for yourself. Because, as I said, this is something that comes with all of us. We do not escape the fears and insecurities that our adults do. The tribe to which we belong inserts us into our psyche. For the same reason, now I want you to think about the partners that you have had or that you have desired because in some way they were more successful than you were. Remember that here we are only inducing that state of consciousness that will allow you to eventually learn to control all these forces that come into your psyche.